How's it going, YouTube? It's Gankun from Gardeno Games, and we've got for you another deck profile video, this time featuring Blazar and Nexus. So when Nexus was announced in BP3, it was somewhat of a surprise to a lot of people. Some people had already seen some spoilers that Nexus was that last revealed character, but either way, definitely did not let down folks. It has one of the most interesting level 3 triple R effects and scene cards, arguably one of the most powerful scenes. So we'll see today how this deck and makeup will give you the most out of your Nexus games. So first, definitely this pairing is one that has been talked about a lot since Nexus's abilities were announced, and you'll see why, how the Blazar effects here pair really nicely with setting up Nexus. So without further ado, we'll go into the deck, talk about the different cards we have, quick recap of some of the key Blazar Nexus abilities, talk about the ratios, and discuss how to best play the scenes and how to go about your first early turns. Similar to some of what Chris has been exploring with Blazar Orb, getting through that early game is really key and pivotal to making the deck work. So we have an Emmy here just for good luck, but we'll set this aside and jump straight into the deck. So we have here on the Blazar side, we have 8 level 1 Blazars, 10 level 2 Blazars, and 9 level 3 Blazars. So how this works is that here we have 8 level 1s, you have 4 of your regular drawing level 1s. This is important just to make sure you have as many cards as you can. Now, this is a level 1 Blazar that was released in BP2. What it does is when you play it as a single, you may return one card from your hand to the top of the deck. And as long as you do it that way, you will be able to draw a card from the top of the deck at the end of the turn. Or you do have the ability to put a card at the bottom of the deck, but you do not get the draw ability this way. So in most regular situations, if you did play it and put a card at the top of the deck, you'll pretty much get that card back at the end of the turn. So no net change to your hand. However, with a lot of the effects here, as we'll see, playing this at key moments would be really nice because when you play it, and we talked about this in the Tiga Blazar video, you can pretty much take a card that you don't need, put at the top of the deck, and if you have any one of these abilities that will either mill or reveal cards from the top of your deck and rearrange them, then you can actually get a different card, allowing you to do some recycling and get some good consistency, which has always been my favorite part about Blazar decks as a whole. So, 8 level 1s. We're leaning a lot more on the level 1s to make sure we have more ability to build triples. So next we have 10 level 2s. So this is a lot more than I usually did in Tiga Blazar. However, in this case, we want Blazar to be the main focus and the key driver of the gameplay. So we have here 8 level 2 Blazars that on play gives you a minus 2000, effectively making it like a 13k on play. Similarly, we have 4 of our Scene Search, and just to make sure we're able to build towards as many triples as possible, an additional 2 level 2 Blazars. These guys are really handy because one, when you play them as a double, they're 11k, which will probably contest and beat a lot of other 1-2 doubles that you might go up against. And it actually becomes a 13k as a double against power types, which there are a lot of dangerous power types in the game, like Lightning Counter 0. This will tie it. Some different art cards have a 13k level 3 2-3 double. This will be able to tie it, and that will be really important later when we get into some of these other abilities. Having as many close lanes as possible will win you the game in the long run. Lastly, we have our level 3s on the Blazar side. Of course, the 4 triple R Blazars. This is always pretty much the best reason to have a Blazar triple. This one's a 17k on play minus 3000 to your opponent, which is going to probably win you that lane that turn. And then you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and rearrange them, put them back in any order. One, really important for consistency. One, to get more information on what's coming down the pipe for some of your scarred scenes or other effects. And as we'll see later, that plays right into the Labyrinth scene. Next, we have 5 level 3 Blazars besides this. So I've gone back and forth a little bit, and I've actually changed this somewhat since our past match videos between Nexus Blazar and like the Kaiju or Blazar decks. So the reason I've actually shifted it more towards this Blazar is that the double R Blazar here, this just lets you do more of what the triple R Blazar does. On play, it's a minus BP grade, which will give you a burst of power, usually winning that lane on play. And while that's important for the game, making sure you don't lose the early game and can be used as a finisher, this actually doesn't help you with being able to take control of the scene, which we'll go into more detail when we talk about the gameplay and how it works. So, the other uncommon Blazar, which we I think had one or two of in the Tiga Blazar deck, is actually really important for controlling when you get the scene. So unlike Tiga, where you can swap in the triple R into the lead lane and control the scene that way, this will be probably one of your most important turn 2, turn 3 plays to get you lead, which will then let you get the scene, which is where all your momentum will come from. So again, for this one, as a single, 8k, pretty strong as a single compared to other singles out there. Against basic types, it becomes a 13k as a single. A lot of 1/2s, scene searchers, things will be a 9k basic type. Some exceptions, but just like Chris's other video for the Orb and Blazar pairing, really key card. And then also if you play it as a 2/3 double, it becomes either 13k, very respectable, or 16k again against basic type. So with this deck, there, or at least on the Blazar side, there were never a lot of good 2/3 options. So this will be a good 2/3 double if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have enough cards to set up a triple, you're missing some level 1s. So you can have this as a good alternative to work your way through the game. So between the original match videos, I've actually added another level 1 Blazar here. After playing a couple of those matches, definitely you want to make sure you have enough level 1s to build the triple. It's really important that by turn 3 you have at least one Blazar triple set up. So next on the Nexus side. So here we're definitely leaning a lot lighter on the Nexus. We want to make sure Blazar has as much room to work with to build a consistent triple as possible, since this is definitely one triple we want to make sure we have, as well as getting towards our scene cards. So with Nexus, here we have 4 level 1s, 7 level 2s, and 6 level 3 Nexuses. So with here, I've actually reduced 1 or 2 of the level 1 Nexuses. You want the draw power from the level 1, but it's not as important to hit a Nexus triple. So I've reduced the number of level 1s to make sure that we have extra space for the Blazar cards, and we can focus on a nice to have triple if we get it, but otherwise we can still work with a 2/3 double Nexus, which is pretty helpful for both of these. This one's a 13k as a 2/3 double. This one's a 12k with its effect, so it's still it can become a 14k 2/3. So now talking about the effects, level 1 draw card, reveal 3, a pretty vanilla standard draw effect. Here we have the 2 level 2s. So now this one, really interesting. We've talked about in some of the other videos where if you hit it as a double, you can use it to recycle cards by drawing one and putting the card you don't need at the top or bottom of the deck. That can be used in many ways. One, for Labyrinth again, for messing around with the level 1 Blazar, where you can get rid of something you didn't need, and in general, just getting rid of the cards you really don't want to the bottom of the deck if you have too many level 1s, for example. Then I've actually shifted this a little bit since my original video, so I've went more towards the speed type uncommon level 2 here. That's a 7,000 and 11,000 double. Now with this, I've kind of found that the level 2 uncommon, that's a power type, it's 7/10, and against a speed type it becomes a 13. After looking around a lot, I felt like this 10k was not as consistent. So there's actually only a few speed types where I feel like this can make a big difference. So if, for example, if you're going against the Dyna double R, that's a speed type with a 13k double, then this could make a difference. There is some Arc level 3 doubles that are 13k, so then that one could make a difference. And then lastly, there's an Orb uncommon, the one that lets you discard a card to get 1,000 or plus 2,000 as a level 3 double. Those are 3 ones where, yes, you would probably want this one, but with all the great advantage types against power, and really, I think the 1/2 double against another 1/2 double battle is more important. The 11k is more than enough to win most of those matchups. So I think you lose a couple matchups by not using the uncommon, but I think you also gain just as many by playing this one. So we have 7 level 2s. Again, a lot lighter on the level 1s because we kind of want to lean light on Nexus as a whole and then more towards these. So then we have the level 3s. This one's really cool. 13k double, again a good number. And when you play as a double or triple, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you can discard up to 2 of them and then rearrange the rest in any order. So it's very similar to the Blazar effect. Again, all very key for getting Labyrinth. And consistency. If you feel like you don't have the best hand set up, you can actually play this very early on to force yourself to kind of look at the top 3 cards and get the one you really need at the top. Unfortunately, you won't get to build a triple in that lane, but sometimes you have to use this to get out of that bad situation. And lastly, we have the Nexus Triple R. So a couple key things there. When you play this, you can either get rid of the opponent's scene card. Again, very important for a deck that really wants to have its scenes on the field. And it'll also throw a wrench in any dangerous scenes, like maybe an opponent's guard or maybe a scene. And then by doing this, or by taking a scene card from your discard and placing it to the top or bottom of your deck, you can also give another Ultra Hero plus 2000. And what's really cool about this one is that you can really do it to any Ultra Hero. It doesn't even have to be itself, which can then help you flip a lane, hold lead somewhere, and if you're already winning the lane it's in, that actually might flip another lane and just give you a surprise win. So, really good card. And now to the scenes. So we have 4 Scards. This is going to be the most important scene card. And then 2 Labyrinths. This is great for finishing the game. So Scarred we've talked about before. This one lets you reveal 5 cards and then level up one that has a potential level up candidate. So this is where you want to be playing more 1/2s when possible. That way you can get organic triples later or get a quick burst by hitting a triple with one of these effects and then hopefully triggering one of these effects off of the Scarred. And then Labyrinth. So Labyrinth we only have 2 of, but you want this a little bit lighter just because you can't really play this till the end game. And once you play this, you've effectively locked yourself out of future Scarred effects. So with Labyrinth, how this works is that when you have a Nexus, you can take the top card of your deck and move it to the discard area. So if it's a scene card, you can give 2 of your Ultra Heroes plus 2000. If it's something else, you can give one of your opponents minus 2000. So assuming that you're pretty much going to only be running Nexus with other Ultra Heroes, you're pretty much getting either plus 2000 for one character or plus 2000 for 2 characters. And getting plus 2000 for 2 characters will pretty much win you the game when you hit it, assuming that you have lanes that are very close and able to be flipped. So if you watch some of our match videos, this is where a lot of combos can come into play. Labyrinth is great. You can use one of these guys to help you set up Labyrinth. You can use the Scene Searchers or Scarred to put scene cards in your discard to help you then trigger it off of the level 3 Nexus. So this is where things all come together. So this is pretty much more or less the deck profile itself. A little bit lighter on the Nexuses than the earlier match video examples we had, and then a little bit more shifted towards this Nexus and then adding an extra level 1. So if you've hit this part, put down in the comments below what you think about the deck. And now let's talk about some of the plays and combos. So when you're playing this deck, turn 3 and turn 2 are the most important turns of the game. So when you get your starting hand, more important than I think what you're playing really turn 1 is what do you want to play in turn 2 and then in turn 3. So a couple scenarios. You might have a bunch of level 1 draw cards, or you might have no level 1s at all, or you may have a 1, 2, 3 triple of one character or the other, or a bunch of scene cards. So I think your ideal setups are you have level 1s and triples you can build to. That's your best hand. If you have enough space, maybe you have a scene card you can throw in there, but pretty much that's a tricky hand to get. So it's like a 1, 2, 3 Blazar, a 1, 2 Nexus, and a scene card. That's perfect. Otherwise, the farther you deviate from that, that's when you want to consider mulliganing. So hands that you might still be able to work with though are hands where you have like a 1, 2, 3 Nexus and maybe only a single draw card, or you have a 1, 2, 3 Blazar but only this Blazar that doesn't get you any draw, or a bunch of 2/3s. So if you're leaning more towards the latter two, only 2/3s, or maybe only the level 1 Blazars without a triple, those are good candidates for mulliganing. The only thing with this one, you can work with it, but since you're getting less draw, it does put you at risk for if there's any cards that you really don't need when you top deck them later, you could be in a tight situation trying to get out of turn 3. So for your turn 2 and turn 3 lanes, let's focus on those for a moment. So if you have Scarred in your opening hand, or you have a Scene Searcher like this in your opening hand, you kind of want to play Scarred turn 2. So there's a couple ways to do that. Now, if your opponent plays a level 1 and you're feeling like they're going to play it slow and have 2 level 1s in their first 2 turns, maybe they played a level 1 reveal 3 card like Nexus here, and then you saw them grab another level 1 of this from their revealed cards. Good signs that they'll probably play a level 1 turn 2, so you can jump on that and play a Scene Searcher like this on turn 2. That will get you another scene and probably the lead. If you're not as confident or you know your opponent's playing aggressive, this is a good place where maybe you play like a 2-3 Blazar turn 2 or a 1-2 Blazar in turn 2. So with these, this will be a 13k, this is also a 13k, this can be a 11 or 13k. Unless you're playing against a Mebius who's willing to burn cards, you'll probably be able to take that lead, setting you up for your scenes. Alternatively, like on the Nexus side, a little weaker, but you can still work with it. A 1-2 Nexus, 1-2 Nexus here, though this is the riskiest one because it's only 9k, so if your opponent does an upgrade, you probably won't be able to hold that lead or take it back. So that's turn 2. Now going into turn 3, if you're able to take lead then, and you have the scene and you've played it, then one of your best plays is maybe like a 1-2 play. So for example, you could play something like this in turn 2 and hope that you're able to mill and get a level 3 Blazar that'll win you lane 3, holding your lead. Maybe if you're really lucky, you could actually even win the game outright by having a 1-2-3 triple in lane 1, and maybe this 2-3 or 1-2-3 you've also upgraded if you have like the perfect hand, can just outright just win. Though assuming we don't have perfect hands here, what you'll want to do is set up a 1-2 double in lane 3 that you can use Scarred, keep that momentum, keep the lead. These effects will help you build some momentum by fixing your hands, adjusting the consistency with either of these, or applying pressure with some of these other powerful effects and taking lead. So then the second half of the game plan, once you've crossed past turn 3, if you have lead, then you have the decision of if you have Labyrinth out, or you have a way to get Labyrinth, for example, all the Scarred milling has put Labyrinth in your discard, and you could use this Nexus to grab it. Then you can get Labyrinth going into turns 4 and 5. Once Labyrinth's out on the field, this will pretty much guarantee you one lane. You'll be able to flip a lane that's either tied or very close. And now you can focus on hopefully having a Blazar triple that wins that lane, or maybe like a Nexus 17k. If you're really lucky with your 2-3 doubles, you end up with a matchup where they had played like a 2-3 basic card that then you've locked down as well. So when you see those situations, Labyrinth is the right play. And from there, you're kind of hoping to have a 1-2 Nexus that you can then use its effect to get a scene card to the top of your deck to seal the deal. If you're able to get this with the full power of 2,000 BP increases, that'll flip hopefully 2 lanes, and then with 1 lane, maybe you played that turn, or you've already won, that'll be the game. So those are the ideal plays, of course, but let's talk about now how you can maneuver hands that are less than ideal. So we'll do some samples here, and then we'll play a couple test hands just to kind of walk through the thinking and thought process I go through when trying to play Nexus Blazar, and I'm hoping that the latest adjustments will give us better luck against our next match videos. Maybe we'll get a redemption round against the Kaiju decks and be able to take them down. So in your first turn, really if you have, let's say this, something like this, you then want to think about what lane would you want your triple in lanes 1 versus lane 2. Sometimes the decision will be made a little easier, but I would actually work with being patient on lane 1. You can hold this turn 1, and maybe turn 2 you'll end up playing something like this, or even better, if you had the Scene Searcher, this is really good lane 1, turn 2 play. This will let you get your scene cards, and you just have this primed and ready to go. So later you'll either hit a Scarred scene and hit the level 3 here to win you that lane, one of these guys will pretty much win you on plays. Or you actually just hold it onto your hand. So maybe you have this in your hand and you just kind of wait until the moment's right where you're very confident that, okay, if I take this that turn, because let's say they have a 17k already on the field or even an 18k, that this will win you that turn, and then you try to aim for another 2 wins somewhere else there, whether it's another from Scarred, another from Labyrinth, and then one lane that you're able to build a beefy triple in. And then on the Nexus side, a lot of the plays you'll kind of be looking for are either a triple Nexus by being able to play 1-2, but that might be a little bit of wishful thinking. With the lower number of Nexuses, you don't always get that. So more importantly, you'll probably find yourself in situations where you have things like this a lot, where you had a couple Nexuses you grabbed, and you just have to time when is a good 2-3 play. So sometimes that turn 2, where if you have this card, this setup, it might be worth just playing turn 2. You could, or even turn 1 actually, if you don't have any level 1 cards. So you're able to play this turn 1 and use that reveal 3 ability and rearrange it to make sure that you have the card you exactly need for your next turn. And 13k double, not too bad. They'll probably have to invest 3 cards anyways to beat it. So you're not losing and falling behind too much. Now this isn't a one that I would not play in an early double lane, but more of a later double lane when your opponent has their scene out and you're trying to take back the scene and kill their advantage. This is a pretty aggressive play to play early if they don't have a scene as a scene clear, so you do want to be careful. Yes, it could become a 14k double, but then the turn after it'll just be stuck at 12k, so very susceptible to losing future battles in that lane. So these are really the key combos I think about. But with this, you actually start building a lot of combos, and this is actually the most fun part about a Nexus Blazar pairing. When you're able to see what the opponent has and look at your field and then start linking and chaining together plays, that's actually the most fun part to me about Blazar decks as a whole and the Ultraman card game, which doesn't really have enough of this kind of combo-based play. Usually it's I play a Mebius that I can just bump up, bump down, or use a scene card, and then you kind of just end the game there. Very linear, not as fancy, but when you're able to style on your opponent, surprise them, even surprise yourself, that's always a good game. So we'll try and do our best to shuffle this quickly. We might have some awkward shuffling just because this was all laid out earlier, but that's also a good case to see how you want to play out of a bad hand. So hypothetically, let's say we have these 6. So like we said, the starting hand and starting play is always the most important part of any Blazar deck. So with this one, this is, I think, a very good hand. So with this, we can work with this. We have a 1-2-3 Blazar we can build towards. We have 3 options for drawing, and we have both a 1-2 Nexus here, so we can use this effect, and then 1-2 Blazar here. So since the triples on turns 2 and 3, or lanes 2 and 3, are more important, I would probably play this Nexus turn 1. We can build a 1-2 later in lane 1, and just leave that spot open for a sneaky triple R Nexus play. Once your opponent maybe takes scene or something, you can later use that. So let's start with this. Draw reveal 3, and this is where you'd have a couple options. So this is always a tricky one now. So we would probably dismiss the level 2 Nexus. Don't need that. And in this case, I would actually think very carefully between these. So having this level 3 Nexus will be really strong because then you guarantee your triple there, and you can have another 2000 that with the scene here can get you an early win. So this might be a good play. Alternatively, we don't have a scene card. So having a scene searcher later will be really good for us to get the scene, and with all of our level 1s, we'll be set up for more triples this way. So personally, I would actually take the level 2 Blazar, but I might switch if my opponent looks like they're off to a rocky start based on their first play, or if I know they're a very scene aggressive deck, which I'll definitely want that ability to clear scene. So in this case, I'm probably going to give this one up. I might regret it later, but it really would just depend on the matchup. So for the sake of this exercise, we'll just say that maybe we're going against something not like Mebius, maybe against an orb deck or something where this can work, and by playing your scene, you lock them out that way. So here we have these. Then your next turn, you could draw another level 2 Nexus, so I would probably go into something like this. So depending, again, on your opponent, you can figure out, do you need to play aggressively or do you need to play slow? So if your opponent doesn't seem like they're aggressive, like you're not playing against Mebius, who has a lot of BP grade up abilities, or maybe something like Zero, where their triple R can do a bunch of grade ups everywhere, you can afford to play it slow and just play a 1. If you feel like your opponent is going to be very aggressive and fast, like another Mebius deck, you might want to then play a 1-2 just to make sure you're able to play a triple and prevent yourself from getting demolished turn 3. Because otherwise, we will potentially lose this lane. This lane, if they're able to do a grade up, we would be stuck at a double, so it's easy to lose. And there's only so many options you can do for Blazar this game as a turn 3 if we don't have Scene. So, this could be a 13, potentially 16k, but it's still very risky, so this might be the safer play. And again, a lot of this will really be depending on the matchup, but you can do this. So we'll take a scene search here. I'd probably take Scarred in this case. Remember, we do have a scene in the discard that can be used for Labyrinth. And then you can do this one where you would draw a card and put one at the bottom. I don't think I need another level in Blazar, so this would probably go to the bottom of the deck. And then you'd be going into turn 3, which is where the most critical turn of not losing. So by playing a 9k here, again, it would depend on your opponent's matchup. But this has, I think, a fair shot of having lead. So you could assume like maybe we were able to get lead. Now, of course, this is all matchup dependent, so you'd want to play this against real opponents. But you could do this, get your scene, draw another card, and then we can think about how we want to close the game. So here, I could probably play a 1 here, and I could play a 2 here, so we're primed to level up here. Now, depending on what your opponent might have played, I could even go to this Blazar here. So one reason I might do this is that if I see the opponent playing a little bit slower, this 1, 2, 3 will probably lock in this lane. And if I'm a little lucky and maybe they just don't have a good setup, maybe they're only going to play a 1, 2 here that I could beat, or maybe they left this as a single or a double because they didn't have their triple here. So this is an interesting position where if you hit the right Scarred ability, you might even just win the game like this. So it's not a bad place to be in. And then otherwise, if we're able to hold lead, we can actually play another Scarred and keep drawing cards. So assuming we played the Scarred ability, here we have a very neat one. We didn't hit a level 3 Blazar, but we did hit a Nexus. And with that, I would actually probably carefully pick between these two. If playing this one would get me lead, I would definitely play this one, plus 2,000. Now it's a 13k, even a 15k against a power type, pretty solid. If I'm going to win lead anyways, you could play this one too. Otherwise, look at the top few cards and get that deck consistency. So assuming I played like that power type, we'd probably put the Labyrinth at the top of the deck. Though actually, in this situation, I'd be very hesitant to play Labyrinth here, just because I still need to have a play for next turn, and this might be a little too early for Labyrinth since I don't have all of my strongest triples out yet. So Labyrinth would probably go on the bottom. It's a little risky because I'll definitely end up getting 2 new cards by playing this, but I want to make sure I have something good I can play in that lane. So next turn I draw, got a Labyrinth anyways, I guess, and then I would play this card, and I would get a Nexus. In this case, I know I don't have many level 3 Nexuses left, so I might either do this if I wanted to, if I see that winning this would get me a strong lane, but since I don't have a lot of good options in this lane and I don't want to lose lead just yet, this would probably be one where I do that. And then from here, we can assume that the game would probably end this turn, or it would just go on for a while, but we would just hope that hitting a Scarred, I'd probably take this, put it on the bottom just to give me more options for Scarred. And if we hit a level 3 Blazar, we'd be in good shape. And then one of these guys will probably close the game. And then that would be it. So this was a pretty good hand setup where we had the Blazars and triples we wanted. And we'll just do one more. Maybe, hopefully we'll see an example of like a bad hand setup and how you might get out of that. So one last thing, maybe shuffle a little bit more. So let's just do 6 cards. And okay, so this is a maybe less ideal hand setup. No Nexuses, we don't have any draw cards, and we'll kind of play this one as a good example of what you can do out of this situation. So I would probably play this first. I think we can have a triple here. Alternatively, you definitely want to be able to take lead. So what might be more important is to play this as a double here or a double here. So the best options we have are taking lead are probably playing this one too, because these are both fairly weak as doubles. They're 12k and they don't get any additional abilities anyways. So in this case, this might actually be my turn 1 play. We'll get 5 cards, look for a scene, no scene cards, probably take lead doing this, draw again, there's a scene. Here would want to play this. Now, this is where if your opponent's very aggressive, you're just going to be out of luck anyways, but you can hope a little bit that you're able to take lead if your opponent is otherwise playing slow. Even if they play a little bit aggressively, this is a 13k against power type. We'll have to still force your opponents, like if they're maybe used to burn cards, to otherwise get out of this. So fingers crossed you get this lead from this. And then what you would want to do is just take Scarred, draw a card, and then here, a very awkward hand. You'll have to make the most of it, but what you could probably do is play this to make sure you just don't lose outright. And you could argue playing this if your opponent also has a very awkward setup, but I would just hold on to these for later. This will guarantee you don't lose, so no need to level those up right away. We'll play this, reveal 3. Okay, I see that I'll be able to get to 11k with this, so you kind of know that you have a few options. You could then activate Scarred. Oh, sorry, my bad. Probably do your Nexus first. You could do this. I would hold on to level 2 for a future turn. These would go discard. Then you would do your Blazar level 3 effect. This is not promising for a level up, so you'd probably have to just leave in the order. Activate your Scarred effect. You didn't get any Nexus level 2, so you'll probably lose lead, but you can then level this up, and this will definitely just guarantee you don't lose. So from this situation, the rest of the game would be very tricky, and you'd have to look really carefully into what your opponent's playing. You can look at if this is a card that can be won by bumping it to one of these later. Alternatively, you could try to see what your opponent might have here in store. If they look that they're light on cards, you could even try to go for a gamble and just go all in here and do something like this. If you're going against something like Arc or Belial who doesn't have a level 2 scene card, you can try to hope that your opponent leaves this unchecked, though it's not always likely, especially with all the prominent level 3 cards. But from here, you can make it work. You'd have to just maneuver out of this, and here there was no level 3 Nexus, but you can just, in some games, this might be enough to win. If it doesn't, this would be, unfortunately, a losing game. So this is a tricky part about Nexus. If you have this situation, it's a little tricky to get out of, but I think by putting your triples in the later lanes and maybe just giving up an early lane, you can hope for a cheeky win by hoping that your opponent just overinvests in lane 1, and then you can make the most of your other lanes. So that was like a good hand, bad hand. Unfortunately, with Blazar Nexus, I feel like you get just enough bad hands that it's not as versatile as Mebius Nexus, but I think you can make it work. And honestly, like we had that earlier test hand, it's a lot of fun when everything's working well. This is actually a tricky deck to play as a test hand like this because there's so many combo options that actually rely on what you're playing against. So hope you enjoyed this test hand. Hope you enjoyed the deck profile video. We'll play this variation of Blazar Nexus in some more match videos. It's not going to change too much, I think, from what we've previously seen, but you get to at least hopefully see a little bit better consistency with some of the ratio shifts. Hope everyone enjoyed this. Let us know in the comments below what your favorite Blazar or Nexus pairing is. Tiga Nexus is one that's still been on my radar for a while, but I feel like it just has worse consistency than this, but better power. So if you're willing to take that risk and you want to go all in, that might be the deck for you. If not, let us know what other decks you're looking for in the comments below, and thanks everyone.